Hi friend, welcome back. Now let's continue with using select statements. As you know, we store data in our tables, right? So how do we get the data from the tables? To retrieve data from the database, we use select statements. And the select statement is the most commonly used SQL statement. You know that the database mainly consists of tables. And these tables consist of columns and rows. And as I mentioned in the previous lectures, data is stored in a structural way in these columns. And select statement returns the data in the same structured way from our tables. So let's see how we can use the select statements. First, we write select keyword, and after that, we write an asterisk character, which means get me all the columns. So why? Because a table can have one or multiple columns. Asterisk means that I don't care how many columns are there on my table, and I don't have to know the name of all these columns. Or I simply don't want to write them one by one. Just get me all of them, the whole table. Or we can also retrieve some specific columns instead of getting all the columns of a table. We can get one or more than one columns with the select statements. Let's say that we have a table and this table has 10 columns. But I don't want to get all of the columns. Instead, I just want to get 3 of them, for example. There might be a lot of reasons for retrieving specific number of columns. But the first approach is the performance effects. Selecting less columns will need less memory and have a better performance in many ways. I explained these in my SQL and performance tuning course in detail. But basically, if you don't need to see a column, do not query it. Just get the columns you need. So, to get specific columns, you need to write the column names that you want to retrieve by separating them with commas. Then continue typing with the keyword from and our table name. So now, let's make some examples on the real tables. Let's try to retrieve all the data from the employees table. I write the keyword select, and after that, I write the column names that I want to retrieve or an asterisk character to retrieve all the columns from the employees table. First, let's try to get all the columns. So I write asterisk, or you can call it as star, and then the keyword from, and our table name, which is employees here. So now let's execute this query and see what happens. As you can see, all of the data are retrieved from the employees table. And these are the columns. They are employee ID, first name, last name, and so on. And these are the data in these columns. All of these are called the employees table in total. Great! We said that we can also get some specific column names. For example, we may just want to get the first name, last name, and email columns. So, how can I retrieve only these columns? As I said before, instead of writing an asterisk or a star character, we just write the column names that we want to retrieve by separating them with the comma signs. So I delete the asterisk now and write first name, comma, last name, comma, and email. That's it. So let's run it. You see that instead of displaying all the columns, this time you see just 3 columns of the table and their data. Now, I want to mention something important again. In a real business, your tables will usually have over 20 columns or so. And you will usually need about 10 columns, and it will be hard to type them every single time. Actually, these are random numbers, it can be different in your work. But in all cases, you will not want to write the column names every single time. You will simply want to write the asterisk character and get all the columns simply and use the ones you want to. But I highly recommend you to type all the columns you need one by one and do not get any columns that you don't need to. This is really important for the overall database performance, so please keep that in mind. Great. To sum up, to retrieve the data from the database tables, we write select statement and column names or an asterisk character, and from keyword, and then the table name that we want to fetch the data from. Alright, in this lecture, you saw how to read the data from the tables by using the select statements. I'm gonna use the select statements hundreds of times in this course in the further lectures, so there is no need to make more examples. You'll already see a lot more examples than you need to learn it soon. So this is the end of this lesson. See you in the next lecture.